Welcome back to the Weekly Huddle YouTube channel. I am your host, Owen, and today we're going to be going over another prospect breakdown. This time it's going to be Wake Forest wide receiver A.T. Perry, standing in at 6'5", weighing in at 205 pounds. And this is also going to be kind of a call-out. Now, I did promise to make mention that these grades are not finished and are temporary. But the reason that I decided to do A.T. Perry for my next prospect profile breakdown is specifically because of Caleb. Now, if you guys are familiar with the series where I go through and I break down players' films, for you guys, I've done Christian McConkey, Jordan Strachan, and Anais Williams. Just recently, I did Nolan Smith and, linebacker from Arkansas. I forget your name. Drew Sanders. I totally remembered you. My bad, guy. But, yes, so I was kind of torn on what to do this week. And if you guys have seen those other episodes, usually I start out with a brief little recap of who the player is and a summary. And I show you my write-up for them on the Dynasty Index, where I put all my write-ups. You can get that at patreon.com/KillerPro88 for just $1 a month. But some of you may not know, and if you don't have the Dynasty Index yet, first off, what are you doing? Second off, I don't write the write-ups for the skill position players. I do them strictly for the majority of the rest of them. So, but like quarterbacks, wide receivers, running backs, those aren't my grades. Tight ends as well. Those aren't my grades. Those aren't my rankings. You can see my actual big board with all those guys ranked as well in the way I put them. But all that gets added to them on the index, different subdivision areas, is my little blurb about them. The grades and rankings are all from Caleb, who is the actual owner of the site, KillerPro88 on YouTube, which we'll actually be using one of his videos today because he does cut-ups for them. And I was going through some of my old players and, re-upping their grades and stuff like that, editing them. And I saw A.T. Perry on Caleb's wide receiver rankings, and he had him as a UFA, undrafted free agent grade, with a 58 overall grade. And he has one cut up on him from Vanderbilt. So now I'm assuming he only has the one film study on him, which is why he gave him this grade. So I'll give him a pass. Now we're going to cover that Vanderbilt game because that's his cut up. But I'm also going to come here, and this is going to be more of a lesson to why he needs to be higher on A.T. Perry, as well as just an overall film breakdown for the rest of you guys. So Caleb, you're a good friend. Thanks for helping me out with letting me work on this. But let me just teach you a little bit about this wide receiver from Wake Forest that you may have missed out on a little bit. Now, the first game we're going to be covering is going to be him versus Florida State in 2021. Now, don't worry, we'll come back to Florida State in 2022 as well. I usually like getting a clip from a year prior to the draft year, just so that way we can get a little sense of how he's grown as a player. Now, as a summary for his prospect before we get into him, he's more of a height, weight, speed guy. Like I said, he was 6'5". He's a big, deep threat kind of ball player. I really like him when it comes to what he can do at the release point, as well as, stacking DBs and getting down the field. Not the biggest fan of his run after the catch or blocking efforts, but there's some pieces you can get there for him to be like a DK Metcalf-esque kind of player. So I think there's some stuff to work with, as well as we're going to highlight some of his deficiencies. Now, one of Caleb's biggest criticisms was his lack of burst and ability to get off the line of scrimmage. So first play we're going to cover here is going to be a 1st and 10. He's on the outside at the top of the screen here. And he's just going to give you a little bit of a inside step, burst up through. So he starts out with when we get back to the play here, he starts with an outside step. He first takes his first step outside, bursts upfield, and is able to get that DB to flip his hips, and just has downfield speed to get past and get over top of him. Good tracking the ball as well. So like I said, his biggest issue, Caleb's, of his game was most likely going to be his line of scrimmage. We haven't really had a debate yet. But his ability to get off the line of scrimmage, I think this little move here, I think overall he's got some good footwork at the line of scrimmage. He's not being pressed, but he gets that little stutter step. The DB flips his hip to the outside. He bursts upfield. All he needs is that little bit, because he's got some nice feel. He's got some nice burst. He's got some nice speed. Really long-legged, can eat up ground fast. So he gets that little bit hesitation where the DB goes to the outside leverage, and he can just burst upfield on the inside and stack, get over top, get that deep touchdown. So I think that's going to be indicative of what we see from his line of scrimmage play for the rest of this film study. He doesn't really challenge with press all that much, but he has a good way of manipulating defenders when they're off coverage as well. So I'm not too worried about that. I doubt he's going to face press every single play. And even then, there are some press reps we'll get to. But yeah, just shows off his downfield speed, his deep threat ability, as well as showing off his ability to get off that line of scrimmage with a nice little fake step to the outside. He sells the DB and then gets upfield. Now on to his next play, which is going to highlight probably my biggest criticism of his game. I'm not a big fan of his run after catch ability, but even then, he has some of those good plays on there. But like 9 times out of 10, this is where he is when it comes to blocking. Now, just a real side tangent real quick. I really don't like Wake Forest's offense with like the slow mesh, basically walking up to the front and really reading those plays, those passing routes really late into it. I don't think this is what this is. I think this is a designed run play all the way. But he's going to be here on the bottom of the screen. You can barely see him. He's underneath the scoreboard. But we're going to see him more when he comes out. So he comes off the line of scrimmage. We'll stop it here. So this is a run play. The running back already has the ball. He's right here. He's going to come up here and he's going to cut it back. This is A.T. Perry. He needs to block one of these two guys. Either of them. He looks like he's going to block the safety. He could block the corner if he really needed to. He's basically touching. He's got hands on the corner with eyes on the safety. And then just gives up. He doesn't block anybody. He's so indecisive that you're a big man. You are 6'5". This DB's what, like 5'11", 5'10". The safety's probably like what, 6'2". You're definitely got the size on both these guys. You have a hand on that corner. Even if your assignment was to block that safety, block the corner. Because look if this linebacker doesn't make the tackle, the safety is, and so is the corner. Two of the guys that you had the potential to block are in their hats on the ball. You need to just do something. Like, I don't know what this guy's doing either. This like tight end. Maybe it was still a run, still a pass play. Oh, it was okay. It was the quarterback who took it. But regardless, you have to know again, I hate this offense, but eventually you gotta you're here. Clearly, you're not getting the ball. He's not even turning around to look for the ball. So I don't know what he's doing. He needs to get it. If he's going to block somebody. If he's not, don't. I know that you have to really wait to block in this really weird, kind of dumb offense. But, at what point are you going to not just play patty cake and actually block? So I think that's just indicative. Maybe this play is kind of in the gray area, whether or not he should have blocked or not. But this happens a lot more often than you'd like to see, even when it is a confirmed, run play, definitely. So he needs to be a better blocker, use his size better, and we might highlight it 1 or 2 more times, and it comes up later when it's not as ambiguous in whether or not he was coached up to do this or not. All right, on this next play, we're down on the 4.5 yard line, basically the 5 yard line. He's on the bottom here against this corner. This is basically press, so he's not getting punched right off the line, but he's getting hands on him right away. He does a good job. We're gonna get back to that play, get back to it. He does a good job getting off, does the outside step, and then uses his hands to fight off that little long arm jab here. So outside, fights off, gets good burst upfield, and then breaks it inside. He gets good speed upfield. He uses his hands well. He uses his feet well. I think that's an overall good release. Again, it's not against hard press man, but I think getting upfield, getting that separation. He has separation on the slant. If Hartman pulls this, it hits him. I feel like Hartman was afraid of this linebacker here, or I guess that's a safety. Whatever, it's in your goal line. But he comes upfield. He's got separation right here. He's already has separation, and then he's going to break it in, which he already has the leverage on. So I think he could have caught a touchdown pass here. He ended up giving it the ball to the running back, but good footwork, good hand technique on the release, and I think he just gets good burst upfield. Maybe this guy's able to undercut him a little bit, but he's kind of pulling up because he already sees it's a run play. So I'll give him a pass on that. I just think it's overall a good release down here. It's a good way to release at all, and he does this even when it's not in the red zone. He does this in the middle of the field. So I just think it's a good release. So we have another one which is going to show off his release skills again. This time he's going to chop his feet. So he's up top here. He's going to come off, chop his feet, really get him moving, gets the DB off balance, and is just able to burst upfield and get past him. Now, I think he gets held up a little bit here. Maybe because it's an in-breaking route, which, again, there's another issue I have with this game is that sometimes when it does these deeper in-breaking routes after going full speed upfield, he takes a couple more steps than you actually need to. He's not so snappy with the top of his routes. But I don't think that's what you're really going to pay him to do. DK Metcalf wasn't the best agility-wise, and I feel like that's the kind of role he's going to have. But he has the good footwork. He fights through the contact. This is basically press, man. This is basically press at the line of scrimmage. Fights through that contact and is able to get into his route without being rerouted all that much. Gets a good little shoulder bend, uses his hands, and that quick little feet chop at the beginning. So I think he's got more tools in his bag than you'd think. And if he's a little more snappy at the top of his route, this is probably a pretty good separation. But overall, I think his burst and his release package there is pretty good as well. And for the final play of this film against Florida State in 2021, we're going to have A.T. Perry down here at the bottom of your screen. And he's going to be taking up here, and it's going to be an inside slant slash like in route, but he's going to do a really good job doing the hard cut here. Now, again, it's like kind of a free release, and it's going to be more of an issue of, is he going to be able to deal with press? But he comes off, good upfield, chops his feet, gets a hard plant foot after this guy opens his hip to the outside, and then he's just able to get inside. It's more like, it's kind of like a double move, inside move, really. It's a hard cut there, and then flattens out. I think the hard cut more is for when he sees that his flips are open to the outside, cut inside, get the inside leverage. That way, when he gets the inside release onto the in, he'll have better leverage and more separation. So, I mean, the pass is high, but like I said, he does that big one cut step once he flips his hips open, so he can get the inside leverage, and then he's able to get his in-cutting route with a lot of separation. Unfortunately, Sam Hartman misses him. Now for our next film we're going to break down, it's going to be from the KeelPro88 YouTube channel here. He has his cut up for A.T. Perry versus Vanderbilt 2022. This is the only tape, as far as I know, that he has seen of of A.T. Perry. Caleb has. So we're going to look at what he saw, and I'm going to point out some of the stuff that I really didn't like or did like about his game against Vanderbilt here. You can see the stat line there. Great little tidbit Caleb adds at the beginning of all of his videos. As well as, I think, the reason he has such a negative thought of Perry is because this is the only game he's watched. I feel like this is going to be, of the 3 games, the worst of the games he has. But we'll dive more into that in a second. And we're going to see here's at the top of your screen, again, where the red circle is. And he's going to come out, and it's just going to be a curl route. When he gets to the top here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it takes like 6 to 7 steps for him to slow down and come back around for the curl. Now, he does get good depth and gets away from the corner, which is like a good little sense there to help out his quarterback. But he takes way too many steps to slow down to make a hard cut route here. And we mentioned it in the first game against Florida State, how his route running isn't as crisp as you'd like it, and you'd like to see him be able to get separation by just breaking those routes off and having better change of direction instead of just like being a straight line speed guy, kind of like what the knock on DK Metcalf was coming out of Ole Miss. But that might be something he'll be able to add to it. Again, DK has had a really good career in the NFL so far. He fell down because of those concerns as well as the neck injury. So I think having Perry learn how to do those change of directions and get, reduce on how long it takes for him to get into these breaking routes, I think will be big places where he can work on, like technique-wise, to really improve his game. And like I said, this is probably where Caleb got a lot of his indication that he wasn't the fastest out of his breaks, or he wasn't the fastest out of his release there. So that's our first play against the Vanderbilt Commodores. So our next play just shows off, because we have talked about how A.T. Perry has been a very good vertical threat, and how he has that speed and those long legs to get downfield, especially with his size, to be like a big-time deep threat at the college level especially. So you see these corners are giving him, what is that? So this is at the 51. He is all the way back at the 43. So that's like 8 yards of separation right there. Yes, 8 yards of separation. So he's able to just come out here. He doesn't really need to sell the vertical as much. He gets upfield, and then he's just able to stop. Get to the out, toe tap catch. Super easy. It just shows how much these cornerbacks and DBs in general respected his ability to get vertical down the field in college. And I feel like that can translate well, not only just the vertical ability, but the fear that can put into some of these DBs who are smaller and maybe not as fast as him, because he is one of those guys who can combine his size with his speed. I think he's going to be like a 4.4, 4.5 speed kind of guy. And if you get a slower corner, especially if you try to put a taller corner on him, who may have been, may lack in speed because of his height, then you're going to have to respect his deep threatness and then, deep threat ability, and you're going to give up these simple, easy out routes that he sees and he's able to adjust to, make the good catch, really just give a quick option for his quarterback there. So, again, this is just another facet of what he can play off of because he's such an established deep threat in his game. Speaking of deep threat, here on this next play, so again, he's up at the top there. He's going to come off of here, doesn't get really explosive out of his stance, but he gets super physical with his DB. His DB has hands on him immediately, still hands on him carrying him upfield, and he's able to run right by him. He splits the safety and the DB on the deep post, and he's able to run by guys. So, again, big-time deep threat. Look at that tracking over the ball, good catch. And he played through a lot of physical play through this by this DB up here, where DB got hands on him. He's trying to reroute him inside to his safety. He's able to just fight through that, be a bigger, stronger dude, say, get off of me, and then I'm also faster than you. And I can get downfield, and I can track this ball, and you're not going to be able to stop me. You can play me physical, you can play me off. It doesn't matter. I'm going to be able to get open and get downfield and attack you. So I think this is a good representation of how he is as a physical wide receiver, is even in the route. Uses his size well, and as well as shows off his burners and being able to get down deep and get behind the secondary. So these guys might not be the fastest dudes, but I mean, he's probably a lot bigger than them, and he's still able to outrun them. So I feel like that's going to translate well to the NFL level. All right, we're going to touch on one of his negatives again, which is going to be his blocking. Now, this is going to show his inconsistency. We got back-to-back plays here. This first play, we're not going to harp on this for too long. Up top, comes down, makes an actually really good block. I don't know if that's a safety or a linebacker in right there, but he makes a really good block there, seals the edge. They're trying to hit the outside here. I don't know why the running back doesn't just bounce it, but he makes a good block in the box there, and I'm really impressed with that. However, the next play he comes back and totally whiffs the block. On the same dude, I think it's 21, whiffs it on the safety, and that safety comes up, makes the tackle. Like, the consistency is maddening. I don't know why he wasn't able to make 2 blocks back-to-back plays on the same guy. I mean, this one is more open space, I guess, but at the same time, you got to put a little more effort into that. And the guy ends up making the tackle, so he probably was feeling that one a little bit. So I feel like his blocking needs to get instilled with him, whether it's mentally. I don't know if he's just thinking, I'm a receiver, I'm paid to catch the ball, not to block. But I feel like teams who have that as, that mindset can't be a thing for their prospects might have him off their board. But I feel like that can be coached up. And, if you put that value and get the guy in the right locker room, I think they can talk him into being more of a physical blocker and putting his body on the line for his teammates. So this is going to be our final play against Vanderbilt. And like I said, this isn't his best tape, so I can see where Caleb is coming from. But I've been talking about how I'm not the biggest fan of him as a run after the catch specialist, or really at all when it comes to being creative and getting open and breaking runs off big after he has the ball in his hand. So he's going to start up top here. First off, gets off his stance pretty well. It's a little bit of a slow break for a post or an in. I'm not the biggest fan of his break there. Gets the ball in his hands, and he makes a couple little juke moves, but he's not a guy who's gonna be able to do start stop, run around guys, be super elusive and stuff like that with the ball in his hands. So he's gonna be more of a guy where if you're gonna want him to get yards after the catch, it's gonna be on slants where he's just gonna outrun tackling angles and be more of that linear straight line speed guy who's able to break away from dudes or out muscle dudes on tackles, like break some tackles. He's not gonna be a guy who's gonna make guys miss and break their ankles and really get, start, stop, change of direction kind of run after the catch guy. So I really think that he needs to be that more linear speed guy. So screen game, maybe if he can just go upfield, down the field, going on some crossers and stuff like that, kind of like this, but more of a deep crosser, I guess. I'm not too impressed with his run after the catch ability very much. And that break, again, was a little bit of a lazy break. If he can, sharpen that up and crisp it up, that's probably a much better route. Gets decent separation against the zone anyway, so it didn't really matter much, but the main focus here is going to be on the run after the catch here. Alright guys, and back in again against Florida State, except this time it's in 2022. I was going to show you the first clip I wanted to, but I realized that this game was one of those that happened during the time when they kept flashing back to Aaron Judge with this home run stupid thing. I'm not a fan. But I couldn't show you it because it was too small on the screen. Basically, all it was just him using his physicality and size to get open on a slant route and be able to make a catch at the sticks. I thought it was impressive. I thought it showed him fighting through physicality and really using his size as an advantage to get separation in the short to intermediate area. But I can't show you because Aaron Judge wanted to break a Yankees record, not even a league record. So, I mean, it's whatever. But anyway, here he is. He's at the bottom of the stack here. So he's going to take an outside release, not have to face much pressure, go upfield, and then just high point a ball here. I just wanted to show this off because I haven't really shown him using his size at the catch point yet in his film, which he does do, like I said here. He does, gets outside, not really contacted. I think it's a zone coverage kind of scheme here. And yeah, it's definitely zone where he's able to just get a free release because he's way off the line of scrimmage and gets open down the sideline. It's a little bit of a high ball. He's 6'5". He goes up there, climbs the ladder, gets it. That's a part of his game, I think he could use. He didn't have to use it a lot, to be honest with you. He wasn't really put in jump ball situations all that often. But I think this just shows that he can use his size and length to really use that and get up there and maybe even get some mosses and some DBs. I think this might be a better angle here of the ball getting tossed. And he's up the sideline, high points it, gets 2 feet down. I think it's just a good play at the sticks. Awareness of his body, able to get out there, outstretch it, and get it. So This is what you want to see in one of those big kind of receivers, that they can use their size to their advantage. So immediately on the next play, he's going to be up here up top. Let's get to it so it's a little more clear. Yep, so he's up top here. It's kind of a slow release where he gets out of his stance because they're doing that stupid walk-up mesh thing at the point of the handoff. And so he doesn't really commit to his route so hard. Slows down up here. Chops his feet, gets open, uses his hands a little bit. Wide open out in the outside flat. Let's let it run real quick. So yeah, he has to do a little bit of a slower release. Doesn't know if he's blocking or not because of how this offense is run. But once he gets the point at the stem, he's here, realizes, okay, it's going to be a pass, chops his feet, cuts across the grain real nice. Like, that's some good change of direction that makes me think like he's able to, get better with his routes, with his sharpness of his routes and things like that. I know he's not at full speed here, so we need to get it to the point where he's more comfortable at full speed to make those cuts. But he has that ability in him to make those cuts, use his footwork, and then he gets a nice little hard work at the end of the catch here, get some extra yardage, get inside the 10-yard line. Just an overall great route. Again, it's a little bit weird to evaluate because he comes out of his stance so slow because he doesn't know if he's run blocking or not yet. Once he's fully committed to making that cut to the outside, nice footwork, gets outside, he's sudden, gets open, makes the catch, and then gives a little shimmy move there, shows off a little bit of that agility. And again, it gets upfield, first down. So here we are again against more of a press man situation. Now, he doesn't get jammed right away. It's just more of the threat of the jam here. He comes off, a little bit of a stutter, gets the inside leverage, and gets the inside route. So like I said, when you're going to be, when you know as a wide receiver you're doing this inside route, you want to get the leverage on their inside shoulder. Now this guy backs up, it's man coverage. He gives a little stutter, gets him to open his hips a little bit to the outside. We'll go back to that play in a second. Here we are again. He's a little stutter, gets him to open his hips a little bit, gets the inside, and then is able to just do the other in-breaking route with leverage. So since he gets that inside leverage off of his release, he's able to get some separation in the short to intermediate, and it's all just a little burst in footwork there at the release point. So he's able to get that leverage, and then it's a good cut. I'll give it to that. I know I was criticizing him a little bit for his cuts at the route stem. When it's coming to these like hard in-breaking ones like slants and ins, he's able to get some more harsh cuts in there as opposed to like stops and curls where he has to really slow down after selling the vertical route. Here he's able to just one foot, kick it out and then break inside. So I think good release, good snap at the top of the route, good understanding of leverage and how to get open on this in route here for the first down. Now he's going to be up top here, and I think this is going to be something that's a little underrated when it comes to wide receivers. But when we talk about intelligence as a wide receiver, usually we talk about if they know where to sit down in a route, if it's against zone, as opposed to running it out against man. But I think the most important thing to look at when trying to determine if a wide receiver has high football IQ is how they work with the scramble drill when the quarterback's out, off script, running around the pocket. So he's going to come out here. He's just going to have a simple little stop. That's where his route was. He's expecting the ball right there. Hartman doesn't give it to him. Well, let's examine that route he just ran real quick for the stop, just so we can get all the phases of this. So he's not pressured really as a press man thing. Comes off. Gives a little stutter. Bit of a harder cut because he's not trying to sell the vertical. He can't really sell vertical in the end zone. Hartman scrambles outwards, and he makes an adjustment. Now we're going to get a better angle here. He's expecting the ball there. Like, you can't see him on the screen now, but he's expecting the ball with the stop right there. As soon as he comes out and starts scrambling, he gets to the corner of the end zone where his quarterback is scrambling to be able to give him an option. So, like I said, he's expecting the ball as soon as he comes out of this break right here. He's expecting to turn around and have the ball about to hit him. He's gonna be ready to make a contested catch. Hartman is in trouble in the pocket, so he starts rolling to the right. He makes the adjustment, cuts right. The cornerback doesn't realize it, and he's just wide open in the end zone for his scrambling quarterback. So that's a good way. That's perfect when you're working off a quarterback who's scrambling. If you're in, depends on how they coach it up, but for the most part, if he's scrambling and you're kind of closer to the line of scrimmage, you go deeper. If you're deeper from the line of scrimmage, you come shorter. You usually just reverse the way your route is going. So he's stopped here, and since it's more confined space in the red zone, he understands, he's alone on the island out here with his one cornerback, and his quarterback's going to roll right. Let me roll to him, roll with him, so that way he can roll and throw on the run and maybe get it to me at the corner of the end zone, which he does. So I think he runs away from coverage well, understands how to work with his quarterback, has some chemistry there, and just an overall smart play from the wide receiver. And the last play of our breakdown here is going to be him up here at the top of the screen. He's going to come off and get the ball in the route. It's more of a stop route kind of thing. Gets gets the ball, and we were talking about his run after the catch a lot during this in the negative light, but this is more of a pro for his so we don't really see his route comment. We can't really see his route, so we can't really judge on that. But he gets the ball on the stop. He's got it here. There's 3 dudes. He makes a turn, realizes this. Now it's not the best agility wise, but he gets a stiff arm in there, breaks a tackle, has some upfield burst after he gets free of those guys, and then tries a hurdle. He's got a hurdle in there somewhere. It doesn't really work out, but like I said, oh, here we go. Get the route right here. Nice little, ooh. I forgot that happens in this. Nice little physical route there. Gets a good stop. I like this a lot because he's supposed to be selling the vertical here, and he's able to stop. I mean, it's a little assisted from him pushing off the DB, but then he gets the ball. Nice physical run. Maybe not the most agile or electric with the ball, but he can play physical. He can break some tackles and get downfield. I wouldn't rely on him as like a Deebo Samuel type guy, but at the same time, he can make stuff happen. And like I said, that route was actually pretty good. I'm more shocked than anything. I think I forgot that they showed this angle. That good little physicality at the stem of the route. He's able to cut it off a little sharper than he usually is because he's playing physical, and then he gets the ball, makes a good play after the catch. So maybe not the best runner for the catch guy, but you know what? Good overall play to end. So yeah, that's going to be it for the prospect profile on A.T. Perry. Again, I picked him because me and Caleb have a very wide difference on where we view him as. He has him as an undrafted free agent. I have him as a 3rd round, pretty high 3rd round valuation, so almost a 2nd rounder there. You can see why I like him. He's got that size, speed combination. In the short to intermediate games, especially on in-breaking routes and out-breaking routes, he's able to have some crisper route running. Now, the question for me is he going to be able to do that when he's trying to threaten vertically? When it comes to like stops and curls, they're going to have to work on that. He's able to play through physical cornerback play, and I actually personally like his release set a lot. I think he's got some good work with his feet. He's able to stutter it a lot. I feel like a lot of the slow releases can be blamed on the scheme he was playing in with the slow walk-up mesh thing that Wake Forest does that I cannot stress enough that I despise. But yeah, I think he as a player has the combinations of release, size, speed, some route running, and just the ability to be that downfield threat that is going to have a roster spot. I feel like he's going to be in that DK Metcalf, maybe even that Gabe Davis kind of role where he's a bigger bodied guy, attacks downfield for a team, gives him some speed. Even though he's not probably the fastest dude, he's got some long legs, can eat up ground, could probably be able to moss some guys or two. We've seen some of those catches where he's able to high point it. And yeah, I just think he's a physical specimen who, even though he's not the most technically refined or best with change direction, will have a role on an NFL team and is able to create mismatches with smaller DBs or bigger DBs who are kind of slower. So hopefully me and Caleb will see more eye to eye. And even if we don't, after watching this, then maybe we can have a video where we debate our feelings and thoughts on A.T. Perry and some of our other prospects we might not see eye to eye on. But until then, I'll catch you guys in the next video. I got a couple more of these coming out, and I got some more podcast episodes coming out. So hopefully trying to get a video out per weekday with my new schedule. We'll see how long that lasts. But for right now, I'll see you guys in the next one.